order at 10:30. Roll call, please.
Joanna,
Here.
Monica,
Here.
Becky, here, Andy,
Here.
Pam, absent, Susan,
Here.
Laura,
Here.
Sarah, and Tiffany.
Here.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Does anyone have any additions to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Do we have any public comment today? Okay, seeing no public comment, we will close public comment. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 15th, 2024 meeting?
I'll move. Susan.
I'll second, Andy.
Great. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Any against approving the minutes?
I'm just going to abstain since I was not on the committee at that point, so I assume they're fine.
Okay, cool. You were next, the abstentions. Okay, the minutes are approved from the October 15th, 2024 meeting. All right, moving into the business of the day. We have 5 items on our list to review, and we will start with the update of the mission and vision statement. Rebecca, do you want to chat about that?
Yes. Beth, if you could allow me to share when
I just did that. Sorry about that.
Thank you. So updating mission and vision is really just a heads up that it is already approved by governing board and just needs to be updated in our official document. So that was included in the red lines.
Anyone have anything to say about the updated mission and vision?
Looks good.
I really like the new vision. I like that it's member driven as opposed to technology driven. I like it a lot.
I do too, and I like the use of the word thriving and the word empowered in there. Those make me very happy.
Doing it. That's our job. Make you happy.
Well, thank you for working so hard at it.
So again, that's already been approved. It's just in the document for updates.
Okay, so we don't need to take any action on this one then?
No, and Monica, if you're okay with it, we could just do one motion to make all of our changes at the end for ease, if that works.
Yay, that is fantastic.
Great.
Okay, moving on to item B, patrons with blocks policy coming from the circulation group.
So, and Deborah is on the meeting if we need some additional context. But essentially, we've had a policy that says that CCS staff refuse borrowing privileges to anyone who is at their max fine or whose account has a block. And then within that same policy, we also say members shall apply best practices and local policies, determining whether to accept reduced payment or waive charges involving not their own patrons. So we already have a policy that says you gotta respect people's blocks, and if there's a judgment call that needs to be made, you can make a judgment call. And so the judgment call section talked about accepting reduced payment or waiving charges, but not really overriding a block to check out. So the group wanted to clarify the policy to say that you can override the block and check out. And this went through the Circ ILL group and then to the circulation technical group. And there was some concern, especially with cases of fraud that have been happening in libraries about staff overriding blocks. Um, so I mean, like that has long been our policy that library staff can do so when they feel it is appropriate. And our goal here is not to like encourage library staff to ignore blocks, but to say like that judgment can include either accepting reduced payment or just overriding and checking out to the patron. Um, so that's the goal. The committee did, or then the Circ Tech group did vote on it and like recommend the change, but I just want to be clear that there were some staff that had concerns about it. Deborah, did I cover that?
You did. The discussion was really focused again on the checking out piece, like giving staff the agency to check out to a patron if their account had a hard block on it. Um, I will add that this discussion did not focus on the existing piece of this policy, which is the accepting reduced payment or waiving charges um, portion, and that is where I think there is a lot of um, uncertainty and concern is like that piece of the portion, which wasn't necessarily the focus of this discussion amongst the CERT group, which again was primarily centered around the adding in that checkout piece. Um, does that make sense? So I think most of the staff in the discussion were more comfortable with a policy that gave flexibility with checkout, but continue to potentially be less comfortable with the waiving or accepting reduced payment portion.
I I liked the I like the changes and I like the seeing the document from the CERT group's meeting and their discussion, and that helped, but I do think it it doesn't matter, but in the end, we have so many staff who have these kind of interactions that one way or the other, something's going to fall through the cracks. Somebody's going to be a hard line on it and just feel comfortable saying no always. Somebody's going to get their manager. Somebody's going to make the deal and go, sure, give me $20. I mean, it, and being at my last library, one of the first victims of the video game bandits. I don't know if it's the same group, but they were doing the Western and DuPage suburbs. We were like, well, they stole all of this, and then we contacted all the libraries that our patron went to, and we're like, are you going to forgive us the $500, or are you going to all make us pay? And we worked those things out. So, they're guidelines. We do our best.
Yeah, I think for me, what Tiffany is saying rings true, which is despite our best efforts, inconsistent application of this will always be the norm, right? Depending on the staff member and what they're comfortable with. And on the one hand, I totally support this. And I'm like, this is the reality. And there are situations where I could see us, and I know we've gotten into unnecessarily conflict-filled dialogue with other libraries patrons over, $60 worth of books that their dogs ate. And then right now I have a patron who has $3,000 worth of my video game systems and my video games. And I can't legally serve them because the police won't give me their updated address and they've moved out of my district. So I don't like the idea of them potentially being able to go to a neighbor library and, check something out. So, I'm kind of 50-50, but also like how many battles can we fight, right? Like how many fronts can we be on simultaneously? So this seems like it provides the flexibility to at least be able to coach our people if we don't feel that they've correctly applied this.
I think it makes sense to have the wiggle room and to have that flexibility because like you have that person who's got $3,000 in fines who I feel like would be a red flag for anyone on a circulation desk at any library. In my experience, those staff are the biggest rule followers and the ones who are least likely in general to let you get away with something like that. But then you've got, another person who's a parent who needed this book for a child's homework tonight because they forgot it and it was only at this library and I only have, $20 in fines. Oh my gosh, it's for a lost book. I feel like they know for the most part. There's always that one person who will waive everything, but for the most part, they know when to apply it and when to not. So giving them that wiggle room makes sense to me, as opposed to saying like hard no, you can't do it.
Yeah.
I feel like too, since it's your own materials that you're risking by checking out to that person, that's kind of your choice. I also just would really hate to go against CERC after they wrestled this through. That feels like we should push it through in any case.
Yeah, and our goal from CCS is really to like give your staff the flexibility to treat all patrons the way they would treat their own patrons, as opposed to having an interaction where one person's fine is reduced or whatever. And I know fines are not the biggest thing, but someone else is like, oh no, you have to go call this other library before I can help you. Unless it's $3,000 of stuff, when we would expect that everyone would be kind of on the same page. So yes, our goal is to give each individual library the flexibility to like have their own local practices and apply them evenly to all patrons as much as possible.
Great. Laura, Andy, anything to add on this?
I might be the one. I'll just say it this way. Is there a world where the current first paragraph can stay? Mine is, well, you know what, let me be more clear. I have some concern about using the word expected versus required. I think in policy it should be pretty steadfast and concrete, and expected sounds pretty squishy to me. If we could keep required and make the rest of the changes to paragraph 1, and I really like how they revised para 2. My only concern right now is that word expected. It just doesn't seem like we're confident in our decisions on policy.
I do understand though what they were saying in that if you say required in the first paragraph and then you say may apply best practices in the second paragraph, you are sort of putting a contradiction right in your policy. You're required to do this, but you may do something else. Whereas that's where the squishiness of expected is kind of helpful. It's saying, you are supposed to do this or you're expected to do this, but sometimes there might be an exception.
I think it's fair. I think maybe I'm arguing semantics a bit. Probably the ledge is more on that end of things. But if we could just maybe rephrase it, I don't want to wordsmith too much, but especially, to the point earlier that the CCS team has done a great job looking at this and presenting this to the committee. But when you start the statement with every CCS member is expected to refuse, it just sounds like there's no strength to that at all. But if we could rephrase it where I don't know, the expectation is that I don't know, maybe again it's the wordsmithing part that I don't want to get thrust.
Somebody just wrote shall, and that's the word that came to mind. I was like, what other word is there that kind of has a stronger?
Yeah. I think that's what I'm looking for. Put a little bit more muscle back into the policy.
I put in shall, but I also wonder if I don't disagree with you. I feel like it's like you have to do this, except for sometimes when you do this, it's like a little bit wiggly. We could also say that every CCS member shall respect fines and blocks or something along those lines, that like every CCS member like understands that like the patron's account is the patron's account, and with that understanding can apply best practices and local policies. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm also fine with a shall.
Shall sounds softer than required, but again,
Member libraries.
I'll defer to the majority on this one.
Would it be helpful? Like, I think I have said verbally that like our expectation is that libraries essentially are treating non-local patrons as they would treat their own patrons, and that's not really in here. I mean, I guess it says libraries may apply local practices when determining whether to check out, blah, blah, blah. It's just like it's getting a little wordier. Like members may apply the same local practices or members may exercise the same judgment that they would for their own patrons, for non-local patrons. I mean, that's the goal. I think it's just a question of wording.
I'll just say I don't ever like something to say required, but you don't have to. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think we're kind of back where we started if we go with that. Shall is that's fine. I can't even remember what the original word was now.
Expected.
Yeah, see, I think that emphasizes that we're a group, that we make decisions jointly, and it's not just your decision. It's we have an agreement about this. So I kind of like the original wording. Sorry, Andy.
It's okay.
Andy, do you feel better about shall than expected?
I do. Like I said, I'm not looking for something that's like an iron-fisted policy on this, but I do want the policy to have some muscle to it. And shall gives it's less squishy than expected.
Okay, so does
would
everyone feel
propose,
okay about shall instead of expected and then leaving the rest as was proposed to us? Yeah, I think so. So every CCS member shall refuse borrowing privileges, and then leaving the rest as proposed sounds like what is comfortable for our group. Anyone have anything else to say on this? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, great. All right, the word is shall. Okay, moving on to the Patriot Act. One of our favorite things to talk about, right?
We have this very long Patriot Act policy that is a lot of procedure about like what to do. So I feel like we should just get rid of it. And CCS will be working on our updated privacy policy and other things next year. So, I mean, we will continue to follow all applicable laws. But in the meantime, do any of you have, I mean, the Patriot Act doesn't exist anymore. My understanding is that lots of things from the Patriot Act still exist, but I don't think we need a Patriot Act policy.
No, I think a privacy policy or privacy and confidentiality policy is going to cover the same stuff.
Which we do have, and it says things like following applicable laws, etc.
Right.
Yeah, and this does read more procedural to me, which I don't think needs to be in the policy manual. Is anyone opposed to taking the Patriot Act section out of the policies? Okay, great.
Easy peasy.
Okay, fiscal accountability investments.
So we did talk about this with budget and finance, but we didn't actually end up wanting to make any changes to our practices. So we didn't worry about updating the policy when we met. But in our investments policy, there is, did I not? Oh, we continually reference something called interest-bearing negotiable order. They don't exist anymore. And so it was recommended that we remove references to these now accounts. And then under diversification, we had the only thing that raised a red flag with the investment advisor was this limit of up to 15% of the investment portfolio. Other investments would be authorized in advance by the board. And so they just recommended removing this piece. So our goals are to update to remove references to now accounts. And then do you have thoughts on this other investments permitted under Illinois law section?
The only thing I was thinking, Rebecca, was in C and D, there's something at the end that says up to 75% of the investment portfolio. I was just wondering if we're taking out the up to 15% in E, should we take out those up to certain percentages in all of those bullets? Just so that, you know, you could invest in whatever percentages you felt was appropriate with the budget committee, or is there still a good reason to have those in there?
I think it's reasonable to have up to 70. So this is the diversification policy. And so the point is that like our investments will be diversified. And so given that 75% is so generous, I'm okay with that because it just reinforces like don't put all your eggs in one basket.
You're just locking yourself in to those percentages. So I'm just saying if we're looking at it now, is it better to have it be more fluid and outline what you can invest in, but not lock yourself into certain percentages of each?
Yeah, for treasury bills, it says up to 100% of the, so I mean, that's not requiring any diversification there.
Good point.
But can I ask, just because, well, I'm no finance guru by any means, but everywhere that I've worked, the policy was always based on the, Illinois Public Funds Investment Act, yada, yada. And so it's usually very boilerplate. So my question was just going to be, what's an example of the other? If the whatever it is, E, because if it's other just based on that is under Illinois law, then clearly it's not the stock market. It's not anything risky. If all of these different delineations are equal in what you may or may not invest in, then maybe it doesn't need that percentage, like Monica said. But I was just wondering what would be other than those. Would there be anything else? What's another financial tool that you'd even want to have 15% in? So,
That is
or
a
if
good
it was
question.
more risky, then maybe you should put 15% and not be like, oh, this other thing came our way. Let's put 75% in. I just, oh, sorry, my finance manager's gone, or my facility.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at our full notes from that meeting. I don't know that he specified anything that it was like, oh, we can't do this because of your policy.
So out of curiosity, I just pulled up my investment policy. And under diversification, we literally said the library shall diversify its investment to the best of its ability based on the nature of the fund's investment and the cash flow needs of those funds. Like we left it wide open to do. I mean, we have other places where we say where, like, what kind of stuff we're allowed to, obviously. But yeah, we just left it wide open. Like you can do whatever you want as long as it's,
I mean, we could take out the whole number 2 here and just say it's CCS's policy to diversify to minimize risk of loss, blah, blah, blah. Like keep just this first bullet.
I'm not opposed to that. Again, just because I would like you to have flexibility.
Yeah, and to be clear, right now we do not have we've got our like money market account and our Illinois funds. And we met with this advisor and he's like, for now, that seems pretty good. I wouldn't mess with it. So this is not like an imminent change, but I'm happy to simplify our gigantic policy manual and take out this section if that does not raise red flags for anyone.
And Rebecca, Budget and Finance didn't see the need to go beyond those 2 either when we reviewed it with them.
Yeah, correct.
Does anyone object to dramatically simplifying this policy as Rebecca has suggested? That is a no.
It kind of makes me nervous because I am not a finance person either. And I kind of to be clear, this policy, I believe, is Lincoln Wood's policy from back in the Sue Bushinsky days. So so that this looks like my policy, so I'm very comfortable with it. And I prefer to kind of just tweak it. I don't like making a radical change to it without somebody telling us you should make a radical change to your finance one, because that's like the one thing we talk about that none of us that I'm aware of is an expert on.
I mean, I'm not sure that I would call it a radical account, like a radical change, because we still have authorized investment instruments right above it. And so what's really changing is like the repetition of those investment instruments and like what percentage could be included there. Which again, outside of this 15% is pretty broad and not provide, which is good, but like, does it provide any added value? I don't know.
That's a good point. I will go along with that.
I just noticed that in E, Roman numeral 3, it also lists the interest-bearing now accounts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll do a control F to make sure there's no. It just like crops up when we have.
I know. Find all those sneaky guys.
Yeah, I will remove them all.
Okay, so Rebecca, can you just summarize one more time, because Sarah just joined, what you're recommending as the change?
So we are recommending that in the fiscal accountability policy, under the diversification subsection, to remove the guidelines on what percentage of our portfolio would be in various types of instruments, with the understanding that authorized instruments are noted above in section E, and that in the diversification policy, it states that our goal is to minimize risk of loss rather than, be ahead of the market or some nonsense.
So
Can you scroll up so we can see the
investment
intro
instruments
to that area. Just what's above A and B, like.
Oh, what's above here?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fiscal accountability policy is kind of a beast. So we've got a lot of stuff in here.
No, I'm sorry, just the diversification portion.
Just the diversification.
She's talking about number 1 under diversification. She wants to see that.
Oh, here?
Are you sharing your screen by chance?
Rebecca, I
Oh.
wonder if, I think maybe you're sharing, you're looking at something else. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, okay. It is CCN's
I
policy.
was paused. I was still sharing, but paused.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
So
that's very clear.
one stays, but
Yeah.
all the details about one is removed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to see. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
sorry, I'm like scrolling all over. I was paused. Thank you for pushing me on that.
Yeah,
I was
that's
trying really hard to
very
find the
clear.
document you were looking at.
We got it.
Does anyone else have any objection to cutting section 2 of that out and leaving section 1?
None from me.
Okay. All right, great. Moving on to item E, remote participation.
I, at this point, would just like to clarify. I think I talked myself out of needing any changes, which is delightful. So in our bylaws, we have our rules for remote participation. We do not have a separate remote participation policy. The bylaws are the rules for how the board operates. So do we need a remote participation policy?
I don't see why.
Okay.
Does
I
anyone
just-
does anyone have a reason that we would need a separate policy for that when it's in the bylaws?
The only thing I could think is if we think whatever's in the bylaws is not answering all of our questions and giving us enough guidance. But if we feel like we know what to do and when to do it from what's in the bylaws, then I don't think we need a separate policy to restate that.
Yeah, I guess I would just ask equally, isn't that the way all of us operate? That those exceptions, those legal exceptions are in our board's bylaws. We don't have anything separate.
Yep, I don't.
Yeah, I was getting hung up on like a semantic thing in my head. And so I think that this is sufficient. I don't think we need any changes to it.
Any
So
discussion on that? Okay. So coming to the end of the proposed changes, I can entertain a motion to accept the proposed changes to items A through E as discussed by the group and outlawed, including the revised patrons with blocks policy and the removal of the Patriot Act.
sorry, I was waiting to see if we made changes to the fiscal accountability. Patrons with blocks and
Yep, the Patriot Act removal, the removal of item 2 from the diversification portion.
is it just revised fiscal accountability
mhm,
policy? So
yep.
then I can do the nows.
Yes. And
So moved.
perfect.
I'll
Becky, who seconded?
I can second, Sarah.
Okay, Sarah. All right. Is this a roll call vote, Beth?
I can do roll.
Okay.
Joanna,
Yes.
Monica,
Yes.
Becky,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and Tiffany.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for your work on those policy updates, everyone, and for the discussion to help the CCS team keep their policies nice and tight and lean. Item 7 is next steps. Do we have any next steps that we're thinking, Rebecca?
These will go to governing board next month. They don't have to go to governing board. They could just go to executive committee, but governing board is next. So in the interest of efficiency, we'll put them with that meeting. And then I believe that this committee's work is concluded for the fiscal year. We'll be sending out committee volunteer stuff within the next month and a half. And would love to have you back. Next year, there are other policies that need a little trim that we'll be looking at next year.
Rebecca, before the meeting is adjourned, is there any update like on the nomination committees or the officers, or when you say, since I'm still new,
Oh.
the committee like options will be shared? I don't remember what that is. Like, is all of this going on at the same time so nobody like agrees to be president and then they're not on a committee, right? And that's not me. But
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, Joanna and the nominating committee are accepting nominations now for officers. Those will be voted on at the May governing board.
okay.
Yeah.
And then after that meeting, we'll send the committee requests, because then those officers are committee chairs and like, so if you're like, I don't want to be on another committee with Monica, she's too efficient and doesn't let us chit chat at the meetings. Oh my God, I love it. Thank
Oh,
you,
you read my
Monica.
mind. Yeah, that's what I want.
Then
No,
you're like,
I'm
let me get off of Monica's committee. Yes, I want to be on all committees with Monica. So yes, so first officers, then committees.
thank you.
Great. Any other questions for the CCS team before I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Or you can just
And-
adjourn it.
I
Yeah,
make that motion.
I totally
Yes, you
can.
just-
That's
there you
right. I
go.
forget that I can.
Do it.
Power is yours.
Ooh, I like having some power. I feel so powerless right now.
Less words to type for the minutes.
That's right. Okay, friends, I will call this meeting adjourned then at 11:06 since we finished our business, and give you some time back in your day. Happy Friday and happy weekend. And it was lovely to see you all, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.